When quiet Maya Chen spills her jasmine tea on Billionaire CEO Alexander Sterling, she thinks it's the most embarrassing moment of her life. She has no idea it's about to become the most dangerous. What if one secret could change everything you thought you knew about love? Tonight, we follow a journey full of surprises, heartbreak, and moments that will leave you speechless. Comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Don't miss a single twist. Let's go. *E rained hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Sterling Tower's 30th floor, each droplet catching the city lights like fallen stars. Maya Chen pressed her forehead against the cool glass, watching the blur of traffic 30 stories below. The jasmine tea in her thermos had gone cold hours ago, but she clutched at a lifeline to normalcy in a world that had tilted sideways. 3 months ago, you're here late again. The voice made her jump, sending the thermos tumbling. It shattered against the marble floor, jasmine-scented steam rising like incense between them. Maya dropped to her knees, frantically gathering the pieces with trembling fingers. "I'm sorry, Mr. Sterling. I'll clean this up and replace stop." His voice was softer now, closer. Designer shoes appeared in her peripheral vision as he knelt beside her. "Are you hurt?" Maya finally looked up, meeting eyes the color of storm clouds. Alexander Sterling was nothing like the cold corporate shark the media painted him as. Up close, she could see the exhaustion etched into the sharp planes of his face, the way his expensive suit couldn't hide the tension in his shoulders. "I'm fine," she whispered, accepting his hand to stand. His touch sent electricity through her, warm and dangerous. "Maya, isn't it?" He studied her face with an intensity that made her feel exposed. "You've been working on the Riverside project." She nodded, not trusting her voice. Everyone knew Alexander Sterling, young-aged billionaire on the Fortune 500, heir to an empire built on secrets. What she hadn't expected was the way he looked at her, like she was a puzzle he desperately needed to solve. "I need someone I can trust," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The rain continued its relentless assault against the windows. "Someone who isn't afraid to get their hands dirty? I don't understand." His jaw tightened. "My father didn't build this empire by playing nice, Maya, and now I'm discovering just how dirty those hands really were." He stepped closer, and she caught the scent of his cologne mixed with something else, fear. "There are things about Sterling Industries that could destroy everything, including me." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. "Are you telling me this? Because 3 months ago your parents died in that car accident." His words hit her like ice water. "And I think someone killed them to keep them quiet." The world stopped. The rain, the city lights, her own breath. Think of everything suspended in that moment of terrible revelation. "What did you just say?" The words came out strangled, barely human. Alexander's face crumpled with something that might have been regret. "I'm sorry, Maya, but I think your father found something he shouldn't have. Something about Sterling Industries. And now." He reached toward her, but she backed away. "You think someone murdered my parents?" Her voice cracked on the last word. "I think," he said quietly, "that we're both in more danger than we know." Maya's apartment was a shrine to the dead family photos covering every surface. Her mother's recipe book stacked on the kitchen counter, her father's reading glasses still sitting on the nightstand. Alexander stood in the doorway, looking like an expensive intruder in her world of grief and secondhand furniture. "Your father was Sterling Industries' head accountant for 15 years, he said, setting down a box of files that looked heavy enough to contain secrets. "These are his personal documents. I found them in a safety deposit box registered under a fake name." Maya's hands shook as she opened the first folder. Her father's meticulous handwriting covered pages of financial records, bank transactions, coded notes, numbers that told a story she didn't want to believe. "Money laundering," she breathed. "Through the charity foundations, millions of dollars. My father was cleaning money for some very dangerous people." Alexander moved behind her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. "And when he died last year, those people expected me to continue the arrangement." She spun to face him, anger flashing in her dark eyes. "And did you?" "I tried to stop it." His admission was raw, honest. That's when the accident started happening.
Act.
A gas leak in my penthouse that almost killed me. Brake failure on my car. And then he trailed off, but she knew. Then my parents died. Maya, I think your father was going to expose everything. He'd been copying files, gathering evidence. Someone found out. The weight of it crushed down on her. 3 months of believing her parents' death was random tragedy, only to discover it was cold-blooded murder. She sank onto the couch, surrounded by the evidence of her father's courage and her own naivety. Why didn't you go to the police? Alexander laughed, but there was no humor in it. Love, do you think the police aren't involved? Maya, these people have connections everywhere. Judges, politicians, federal agents. We're fighting shadows. So what do you want from me? He knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. The gesture was intimate, desperate.
I want justice for your parents.
And I want to destroy the people who killed them before they kill us too. This is insane. But even as she said it, Maya felt something igniting inside Hera, burning need. For answers, for revenge. I know, but I can't do this alone. His thumbs traced across her knuckles, and she realized how beautiful his hands were. How gentle despite the violence they were discussing. I need someone they don't suspect. Someone smart enough to help me unravel 15 years of criminal conspiracy. Maya looked at the photos of her parents, her mother's warm smile, her father's kind eyes. They'd raised her to be cautious, to stay safe, to avoid risks. But they were gone now, murdered for trying to do the right thing. If we do this, she said quietly, people will die. People are already dying, Maya. The question is whether we're going to be victims or survivors. She studied his facethe, sharp cheekbones, the storm-gray eyes, the mouth that promised both salvation and damnation. Alexander Sterling was dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with money or power. He was the kind of man who could make her forget everything she'd been taught about playing it safe. There's something else, he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. Something I haven't told you. Maya's blood chilled. What? It's the night your parents died I was supposed to meet? Your father. He'd called me, said he had proof about everything. But I was scared, so I sent someone else instead. His eyes closed, and she saw the guilt eating him alive. I sent my assistant, Robert Chen. The name hit her like a physical blow. Robert Chen is my cousin? Maya, my cousin, is dead? The words came out as a scream. Alexander's face was a mask of pain. They found his body the next morning, made it look like a suicide. Maya launched herself at him, fists beating against his chest, tears streaming down her face. He didn't fight back, just absorbed her rage and grief until she collapsed against him, sobbing. I'm sorry, he whispered into her hair. I'm so goddamn sorry. But when she looked up at him, eyes blazing through her tears, Maya Chen was no longer the scared, grieving girl who'd been invisible for so long. Tell me their names, she said. Tell me who killed my family. The abandoned warehouse smelled of rust and decay, shadows dancing in the pale light filtering through broken windows. Maya pressed her back against the concrete wall, heart hammering, as footsteps echoed somewhere in the darkness. In her hand, the recording device felt slick with sweat. Are you sure about this?
Ow!
Alexander's voice crackled through her earpiece. Too late to back out now, she whispered. 3 weeks of investigation had led them here to Vincent Kozlov, the Russian arms dealer who'd been using Sterling Industries as his personal bank. He was meeting with his inside man to discuss the Chen problem that had been such an inconvenience. Maya had insisted on going in alone. A young Asian woman would be invisible to men like Kozlov, just another face in the crowd. But as footsteps grew closer, she wondered if invisibility would be enough to keep her alive. She's here. The voice made her blood freeze. She knew that accent, that casual cruelty. Maya peered around the corner and saw him, the man from the security footage outside her parents' apartment building. The one who'd been following her father. Viktor Kozlov's enforcer, a killer with kind eyes and blood. On his hands, you said she was neutralized, came another voice. Familiar, impossible. Maya's world tilted as she saw him step into the light. Gray hair perfectly styled, expensive suit, the same warm smile he'd given her at her parents' funeral. Uncle James? The words slipped out before she could stop them. James Chen, father's brother. The successful lawyer who'd helped her navigate the insurance claims and funeral. Range ministered toward her hiding spot with the patient expression of a man who'd been expecting this moment. "Hello, Maya. I was wondering when you'd figure it out." She stumbled backward, mind reeling. "You killed them. You killed your own brother." I tried to reason with him. James's voice was calm, almost gentle. David was always too idealistic. He couldn't understand that sometimes good people have to do bad things to survive. The Russian enforcer moved closer, and Maya realized she was trapped. No way out except through them. The recordings, James continued. David had been copying files for months. He was going to destroy everything, not just the money laundering, but legitimate businesses too. Thousands of jobs. Families who depended on Sterling Industries. So you had him murdered. I had him stopped. James's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something cold and reptilian underneath. And Linda was collateral damage. Just like your cousin Robert, just like you're going to be. Maya's hand closed around the knife hidden in her jacket, a gift from Alexander after their first near-death experience. "Alexander knows I'm here. If I don't, Alexander Sterling is dead, dear niece." The words hit her like ice water. "What, did you really think we didn't know about your little alliance? He's been compromised from the beginning. We've been watching, waiting for him to lead us to all of David's hidden evidence." James smiled, and it was the same expression he'd worn while comforting her at the funeral. "He served his purpose, just like you have." Rage exploded through her, white-hot and consuming. Maya lunged forward with the knife, catching the Russian enforcer in the shoulder before he could draw his gun. Blood sprayed across the concrete as she rolled away from James's grabbing hands. "Maya." Alexander's voice echoed through the warehouse. Alive and furious and beautiful, she turned to see him rappelling through a skylight. Tactical gear making him look like some dark angel of vengeance. Behind him came 3 other figures, armed, professional, deadly. "Run," he shouted, automatic gunfire erupting around them. Maya sprinted through the maze of shipping containers. Uncle James's voice pursuing her like a curse. "You can't run forever, Maya. We know where you live, where you work, who you care about." She burst through a side door into the alley where Alexander was waiting, engine running. She dove into the passenger seat as bullets shattered the rear window. "Are you hurt?" His hands were on her face, her arms checking for injuries. "Killed them." The words came out broken, hollow. "My own uncle. My father's brother." Alexander's jaw tightened. "We'll make him pay."
How will we?
Maya turned to face him, and Alexander saw something. That made him step back. The innocent girl who'd spilled tea on his suit was gone, replaced by someone harder, more dangerous, because I just recorded him confessing to triple murder. And now I know exactly how we're going to destroy them all. Her smile was sharp enough. "To cut glass, Maya? What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," she said, pulling out her phone, "that it's time to stop being the prey." The FBI field office buzzed with controlled chaos against, moving between desks. Phones ringing, computer screens glowing with evidence that would topple empires. Maya sat in the conference room, watching Assistant Director Sarah Martinez review the mountain of documents they'd compiled over the past month. "This is extraordinary work," Martinez said, not looking up from the files. "We've been trying to build a case against the Kozlov organization for 5 years. You've handed us everything we need." Beside her, Alexander squeezed Maya's hand under the table. They'd barely slept in weeks, surviving on adrenaline and the burning need for justice. The safe house felt like a prison, but it had given them something unexpected: each other. "When do you move on them?" Maya asked. "Tonight? Simultaneous raids?" "On 15 locations. We'll have Kozlov, your uncle, and 43 other members of the network in custody before sunrise." Martinez finally looked up, her expression grave. "But I need you both to understand after tonight. You'll need new identities. Witness protection. These people have long memories." Maya felt Alexander tense beside her. Right? They'd known this moment. was coming, but knowing and accepting were different things. "We understand," Alexander said quietly. But as they left the FBI building, Maya caught something in his expression that made her stomach clench with dread. "What is it?" she asked as they walked to their car. "Nothing, just tired." He was lying. She'd learned to read him over the past. Month of every micro-expression, every hesitation. Alexander Sterling was hiding something. That night, in their safe house, Maya pretended to sleep while Alexander paced the living room, phone pressed to his ear. His voice was too low to make out words, but the tension in his body told her everything she needed to know. When he finally came to bed, she kept her breathing steady, eyes closed, heart breaking with each gentle kiss he pressed to her forehead. "I'm sorry, Maya," he whispered. "Everything." She waited until his breathing deepened, then slipped out of bed and found his phone. The call log made her blood turn to ice. James, CHEN, 11:47 p.m. 23 minutes. Maya's hands shook as she scrolled through their text messages, each one a dagger to her chest. "James, is she buying it?" "Alexander, completely. She thinks you killed her parents." "James, and the FBI." "Alexander, they have everything. The raids happen tonight." "James, good. After Kozlov is eliminated, we'll control the entire network." "James, what about Maya?" "Alexander, she'll disappear. Car accident during the raid. Very tragic." Maya pressed her hand to her mouth to stifle the sob that threatened to escape. Everything's here partnership, their growing love. Right. The nights they'd held each other while planning their revenge of it had been a lie. She stumbled backward, bumping into the kitchen table. The sound made Alexander stir in the bedroom. "Maya?" She forced her voice to sound sleepy. "Just getting water." But her mind was racing. If Alexander and James were working together, then who had really killed her parents? And why had they needed to eliminate Kozlov's competition? The truth hit her like a physical blow, Alexander. Sterling hadn't just inherited his father's business, Empire had inherited his criminal one too. The money laundering, the murders, all of it. And her parents had discovered not just the Russian connection, but Alexander's direct involvement. Maya. Alexander appeared in the doorway, hair tousled, looking every inch the concerned lover. "Are you okay?" She turned to face him, and for a moment she saw him clearly, not the broken, guilt-ridden man seeking redemption, but the calculating predator who'd manipulated her grief and rage to eliminate his competitors. "I can't sleep," she said, too nervous about tomorrow. He moved toward her, reaching out to touch her face. His fingers were warm, gentle, the same hands that had comforted her, held her, made love to her while planning her death. "It's almost over," he murmured. "After tonight, we can start fresh. New names, new lives. Just us." Maya leaned into his touch, letting him see what he expected. Trust, love, vulnerability. "Promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll never lie to me again." Alexander's eyes were storm gray in the darkness, unreadable. "I promise." Maya smiled and stood on her toes to kiss him, soft and sweet, and full of the love she'd actually felt before discovering the truth. "I love you too," he whispered against her lips. But as he led her back to bed, Maya was already planning. The raids would happen in 6 hours. Alexander expected her to die in a convenient car accident. Uncle James expected to inherit control of a billion-dollar criminal empire. They were both wrong. Chen had learned something important over the past month. Sometimes the best way to destroy a predator is to become something more dangerous. As Alexander's breathing deepened beside her, Maya slipped her hand under the mattress and found the burner phone she'd hidden there. One text message, sent to a number Alexander didn't know she had. Change of plans. Sterling is the head of the snake. Take him alive. She deleted the message and settled back against Alexander's chest, feeling his heartbeat against her cheeks, heartbeat of the man who'd killed her family and made her fall in love with him while planning her death. By morning, one of them would be dead. Maya was betting it wouldn't be her. Dawn broke blood red over the harbor as Maya stood on the dock where this all began. Same pier her father had walked every morning before work. The same view she'd watched through Sterling Tower's windows while falling for a killer. Behind her, sirens wailed across the city. The raids had been even more successful than planned. 47 arrests. Assets worth over $2 billion frozen. The Kozlov network dismantled in a single night. And Alexander Sterling, the puppet master, behind it all, was gone. You came. Maya didn't turn at the sound of his voice. She'd known he would find her here, even with half the FBI hunting him. Some things were inevitable. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? She asked, watching a seagull dive for fish in the choppy water. Alexander's footsteps stopped a few feet behind her. When, the night you saved me at the warehouse, Uncle James was too obvious, too theatrical. He wanted me to hate him. Maya finally turned, and the sight of him still made her chest ache despite everything. But you made me love you. Instead, he looked different in the morning light, older, more dangerous. The mask finally dropped completely. Blood stained his shirt from somewhere, and there was a cut above his left eyebrow. He'd fought his way out of the net, but they both knew it was only temporary. Your parents discovered I'd been using the charity foundations to build my own network, Alexander said. When my father died, I inherited his criminal contacts, but not their loyalty. I had to prove myself, show them I could be more ruthless than the old man, so you killed them. I ordered it. James carried it out. His voice was matter of fact, almost casual. Your cousin was collateral, wrong place, wrong time. Maya absorbed this confirmation of her worst fears with surprising calm. And me? You were supposed to be the grieving daughter who helped the FBI take down the Russians. Give me credibility, eliminate my competition, and then disappear before you could become a problem. Alexander's smile was sharp as winter. I didn't count on actually falling for you. Is that supposed to matter, doesn't it? He stepped closer, and Maya could smell his cologne mixed with blood and desperation. Everything I felt for you was real, Maya. Everything we had together thought was the only truth in all the lies. Maya studied his face, memorizing every line, every shadow. Do you know what the difference is between us, Alexander? Tell me. You kill people you love? Her hand moved to the gun hidden under her jacket. I only kill people who deserve it. Alexander's eyes flicked to her movement. The FBI is already here, aren't they? In position. They're not coming, Alexander. Maya's voice was soft, almost gentle. This is just between us. His laugh held no humor. You're going to execute me? I'm going to give you the same choice you gave my parents. Maya drew the gun, keeping it pointed at the dock between them. You can walk away, get in your car, drive to the airport, disappear forever. All I want is for you to admit what you did. And if I don't, then I'll kill you right here. Alexander looked out over the harbor, then back at her face. You know, I can't run, Maya. Too many people want me dead now. Russians, FBI, probably half my own organization. And tell me the truth. All of it. Let me hear you say their names. The silence stretched between them, filled with the sound of waves against the pier and the distant cry of gulls. Finally, Alexander's shoulders sagged. I ordered the death of David Chen and Linda Chen on March 15th. I had Robert Chen killed to cover my tracks, used your grief and love to manipulate you into destroying my enemies while planning your murder. His voice cracked on the last words. I'm sorry, Maya, for all of it, but mostly for making you love a monster. Maya raised the gun, and for a moment they stood frozen, predator and prey, victim and victimizer. Two damaged souls who'd found each other in the darkness and created something beautiful and terrible. I did love you, she whispered. I know, that's what makes this harder. The gunshot echoed across the water. Alexander Sterling fell to his knees, then forward onto the weathered planks of the pier. Blood spread in a dark pool around his body. Mixing with the morning mist, Maya stood over him for a long moment, gun still smoking in her hand. Then she knelt beside him, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead with surprising tenderness.
Alexander.
She stood and walked toward the harbor master's station, where Assistant Director Martinez was waiting with a cup of coffee and a sad smile. Is it over? Martinez asked. Maya looked back one last time at the body on the pier, and who'd killed her family and made her capable of murder in return. Yes, she said. It's over. 6 months later, Elena Santos, formerly Maya Chen, stood on a different pier in a different city, watching the sunset paint the water gold. The FBI had been generous with their witness protection program. New identity, new life, new purpose, working with an anti-trafficking organization that helped other victims find justice. She'd gotten everything she'd wanted. Her parents were avenged. The criminals were destroyed. She was free. But as she walked back to her apartment through streets that still felt foreign, Maya carried the weight of a different kind of truth. Thought, love, and hate weren't opposites, but twisted reflections of each other. That sometimes the only way to stop a monster was to become something more monstrous. And that some stains, once acquired, never fully wash clean. She unlocked her door and found the envelope waiting. No return address. No postmark, just her new name written in familiar handwriting. Inside, a single photograph. Alexander's grave, covered in jasmine flowers. On the back, 2 words, I understand. Maya smiled, first genuine expression of happiness she'd felt in months, and dropped the photo into her fireplace. Some ghosts, it seemed, knew when to stay buried. The end.